The Mahindra Thar, legendary off-road and now claiming to be more friendly on tarmac as well. Many of you have loved, liked and even booked the Thar. But from the comments on our videos that we've done on it, there still seem to be many questions. Today's comparison is with two very different cars from the same manufacturer at a price between 13 to 15 lakhs. At that price point, there are few who'd be able to justify the Thar as a second vehicle. For the other fun folks out there who can only consider the Thar as their only vehicle, we're going to answer the question if it can do the job of a typical urban SUV just as well. And let's start off with handling. So, I guess you know what's coming up next, right?
As always, this test is conducted on a closed road with no traffic, and the cones make a tight corner even tighter. 40 kmph hasn't shown any differences so far, so this time around we are starting at 50 kmph. And the last time we were able to push the speeds up to 70 kmph. Will these two SUVs manage to cope better than the hottish hatches?
First run in the XUV300, 50 kilometers per hour. Let's go.
At low speeds, there's little drama through this corner. The XUV stays quite flat at 50 kmph, and there's plenty of room to spare between the last cone and the right front tire.
50 kmph, let's go.
The Thar is surprisingly stable for such a tall SUV going through the corner. Still, you can see the outer suspension compressing quite a bit already.
Now to push it up to 60, second one.
The XUV300 managed 60 kmph with room to spare, but if you look closely, you can see the front wheels are understeering just a little.
60 kmph now, fingers crossed.
The Thar made 60 kmph look easy. Still, there's a lot more body roll that's crept into the equation. And I could feel the rear getting a little loose, though that's not quite obvious in the footage.
Taking things up a notch now to 70 kmph.
At 70 kmph in the XUV300, understeer starts early. And somewhere midway through the corner, ESP kicked in, and you'll notice the nose diving as the brakes get applied automatically to correct the understeer. And the result? It ran wide and killed one cone.
70 is going to be a hard ask, but let's go.
At 70 kmph, the momentum of the Thar is hard to turn, and the front right suspension has compressed so much that the rear wheel has lifted. And this has caused the rear to lose grip, and it drifted wide and killed one cone.
So that experience was very different. And to sum things up, both cars killed one cone at 70 kilometers per hour, and with the Thar the experience was quite different. So you sit high up, there's a lot of weight transfer as you go through the corners, and those front tires have a lot of grip. So it's actually the tail that's losing as you reach 70 kilometers per hour. With the XUV300, it's a little bit different, front wheel driven, and it's those front wheels that lose grip. At 70 kilometers per hour, it went quite a bit wide, knocked over a cone, ESP kicked in quite aggressively and brought it back in line. So, well, 1 point each. Now it's to go over to the braking test.
In the braking test, we have the lighter XUV300 versus the heavier Thar. But the Thar has a lot more grip from those mighty contact patches. So this should be a close battle. It's the XUV300 that wins unsurprisingly, but it was closer than we thought. And unlike the drama in the corner, both cars stayed straight and true under braking. Nice. This time around, we've changed a bad stretch of road for an even bumpier patch. These two made the old stretch look completely flat. The Thar is an off-road champ, so this should be a cakewalk, right?
It's easy to be comfortable over smooth roads, but it's when you come to the bad roads that the challenge really begins. The Thar's ladder frame is built to really take you safely through the toughest of terrain. But that doesn't really mean that it's going to have the best of ride quality. And as you can see, it is quite bumpy in here. The XUV's monocoque chassis and soft suspension setup were built to smooth out bad roads. And this is the same stretch, I'm doing the same speeds, and as you can see, I'm not being thrown about as much as I was in the Thar. So just a lot more comfortable. And when you move over to smooth tarmac, again it's a case of the XUV300 being easier to live with, both in terms of comfort as well as maneuverability. One more consideration, of course, is how your family fits into the picture. Quite literally how they fit into the car and how they get along with it. So what I'm talking about is space and practicality. And Nabil has covered that in great detail at Car Dekho. So please give that video a look-see as well. Highway drives are a lot nicer in the new Thar with its new refined engines, both diesel and petrol. But bumps and level changes at highway speed are still felt in this cabin, and long drives will be more tiresome than in the XUV300. The Thar's city abilities have also improved, and automatic options with both petrol and diesel engines really help. But parking, narrow roads, and well, pulling maneuvers like U-turns still require a bit of planning.
And to prove that last point, we devised a quick turning radius test. We started both cars off at the same point, turning their steering wheels completely to the right steering lock stops, and then slowly completed a 90-degree turn. Something you'd normally do when you're trying to pull a U-turn, for example. And as you can see, the Thar turns in a significantly larger circle than the smaller XUV300. And this is what the final score sheet reads like. The Thar just managed to tie with the XUV300 in the cornering test, and was a step behind in the other aspects we considered when comparing these two odd rivals. But the score sheet doesn't tell the complete story.
So the winner of this test is the XUV300, but it was a really tight battle and a surprise to us. The Thar ran it really close in both handling and braking tests, and it really only faltered when it came to ride quality. A significant test, especially considering our broken roads and of course your passenger comfort. The Thar's appeal and promise of big adventures is its big draw, but as an only car, it's still asking you to make quite a few compromises. If I were younger and freer, I'd pick it in an instant, and I'm definitely not letting go of its keys till I really have to. But to pick just one of these two and to have it as my only car, one I'm going to have to share with my family, then I'm going to have to pick something like the XUV300. But the beauty of this kind of a comparison, one with two different cars from two different segments, is that your answer could be different. Are you willing to pick the Thar and all of its caveats?